All right, welcome all. For those new to my channel, I do the human design gates weekly. They're every 5, 6, 7 days. And I like to focus on the solar gates because this is where 80% of the neutrinos of life pass through. So it's a different way of perceiving astrology through human design, but in the way of looking through where the neutrinos are, most of the neutrinos are, and that's through the sun being our guiding focus, tropical astrology, path of the ecliptic, path of the sun. So this is where we put our focus. So we do not always fall victim to the cycles of the other planetary bodies, which whose cycles still affect us, but also distract us and pull us off track, but also have a message for us. Here we have the sun, which is the brightest object in our sky, and its brightness can in fact blind us from certain things. And that's why lunar light, the light of the moon, in a sense, can bring us light in the shadow spaces of ourselves and illuminate those hidden, repressed, and silenced parts of ourselves that we may not be paying attention to or nurturing anymore. Those parts of ourselves that were not nurtured in our childhood, but were in fact injured, traumatized, disaffected. And parts work is a really good thing for that. Talking to those child parts within yourself, not letting them sabotage you, but rather you sabotaging them. Just kidding. So it's just an understanding that we all have different facets of awareness. Another way of saying it is we have different expressions from these planetary archetypes. One way of looking at it through psychology is that we have alters, and sometimes different alters are created through our upbringing. Trauma might overwhelm one to the point where there's an altered personality that begins to take over those that part of the life that relates to a certain experience or a certain adult figure or parent. And so what we have to focus on this week in particular is gate 29. I titled this "The Beginning is the End, Trust is Trust." Now, this particular gate, as you could see here on this graph that I have for the cover of this video, has the gate 29 colored in. You could see it right there. And you could see it also on the right-hand side, on the right-hand column on the top, 29 line 1. So this will be August 17th, around the time that the sun will move into this Leo gate, the last Leo gate before we kind of move into Virgo for the year. And I titled this "The Beginning is the End, Trust is Trust." Now that needs to be unpacked, and I will be unpacking that. This particular gate, it's a very, very deep and powerful gate. You can see it's coming out the sacral center. So it gets activated from sacral definition. So projectors, manifestors, reflectors who have this gate, your energy will be utilized by the sacral energy definition, whether it's yours or your synastry with someone else or just the sacral energy in the environment. And coming from a sacral, this is the gate of saying yes. So these next 5 days will perceive the impulse, the energy as it moves in response, and we'll observe and see if we are saying yes to things uncritically. Usually, those with this particular gate and their design have a tendency to say yes to everything. Yes, you can have all my money. Yes, you can drive my car. Yes, you can take all the food. Yes, you can ruin my life. It's an unqualified, it's an unchecked left. Yes, it's just a streaming energy that accepts a yes to life really, to the experience of life. But the lesson here is to learn to only say yes to things that are correct for the individual, uh, relative to the collective. It is a collective channel, and so thus it is something based in the collective perspective. But it's still about commitment, the individual commitment to the collective. Now, this particular gate's going to start off in line one. In line one, I wanted to look at through the Book of Lions, but I don't have the book with me as I'm traveling. So I kind of want to peek at some quick copies I made of it, or prints. So from the Book of Lions, we have the gate of commitment, the automatic yes. Sincere, patient perseverance provides the basis for success. And this is the message of the sacral, and this is the message of life for a sacral being, that, you know, the day to day is the true realization of life, is gradual achievements, step by step. No matter, there's another part here, no matter how dark or dangerous aspects of our life appear to be, there's always a way through. Never give up and never be manipulated. Establish for yourself the art of making right commitments for each situation that confronts you. Trust your authority. And here, Chetan utilizes for particular uh, vibrational frequency representations of this energy. The first part being unreliability and overcommitting, and those would be the two kind of repressed and reactive responses of this gate. And general half-heartedness, and in higher frequencies of the gift in the city would be commitment and devotion. And in gate one, so for the first day, it'll be being cautious. Wondering if you can succeed will cause you to wobble, responding to situations according to only what is genuinely needed, or else inviting trouble. So this is about seeing what really needs to be committed to, what really needs support, not what does not. And then as we move to line two, advancing slowly, contentment with gradual achievements. Your endeavors are sustained by proceeding directly and gradually, or undone by rushing. And I go over these two because these two particular lines kind of summarize the foundation of this particular hexagram in a powerful way. The other ones are all variations of how we make our commitments. Line three is about allowing decisiveness for change to come in its own natural way. And line four is about committing, being clear about your challenges brings relief quickly. So these are all variations of how we deal with the challenge of knowing when and what to commit to. Line five would be being restrained, moving into and through a cycle with clarity. Your clear commitment is enough to avoid excess. Otherwise, you get exhausted by indulging. So restraint is another sub-theme of commitment, as is being clear, decisive, and clearing the path in front and behind of you so you don't get caught up in entanglements, which is line six. You have an ability to get involved in anything, anytime, or you can choose to wait for clarity. The main point in this particular gate being clarity. And that would, of course, follow with the authority of those who have emotional definition. This center over here to the right-hand side, the solar plexus. As you can see here, there is on this day emotional definition. from Pluto active. We can't quite see it, but it's there in the, am I forgetting what gate that is? That's the 41. And that's going to be connected to the 30. And the Earth is going to be in 30, which is opposite the Sun. That's the programming partner. So there will be emotional activation for these days on August 17th through the 22nd. And the Venus and Jupiter conjunction in Cancer will be fading during this time, as well as we'll be moving into a period where it'll be good to be back home in your own space for reflection, because the intensity is rising again during this time period as we move closer and closer to this month's new moon. I'm going to put it in my little app real quick so I could see the chart. And that's going to be, let's see, the 17th. Yeah, so on the 17th, when I look at that chart, moon will be in Gemini, sun will be exactly in 25 degrees of Leo, right when the 29th gate begins in correspondence with the astrological signs. Mercury will be direct. I think right now it's just stationing. It's not even quite direct yet this week. It'll be stationing moving forward in Leo, along with the sun. And Venus will have separated from its conjunction with Jupiter. It'll be about 5 degrees out from Jupiter, so 20 degrees Cancer. Mars will be getting comfortable in Libra, having just conjunct, or rather oppose, the Aries vortex, which of course we know is where all the outer planets are in some degree, whether it's by aspect or conjunction or sextile. Uranus still in Gemini, 1 degree, sextiling the Aries vortex. Saturn and Neptune, of course, in Aries in the Aries vortex, and Pluto at 2 degrees, still right there in the Aries vortex. Cancer will at this point be, as I said, 15 degrees, so halfway through. Jupiter will be through Cancer, but it'll start retrograding pretty soon. And at this time, we're having 3 planets in retrograde: Pluto, Neptune, and Saturn. So it is a time where it's more of a time of reflection, resetting, and reassessing our goals and directions and our commitments. And so why not follow forth with this theme during this time period? Um, so the moon is moving into, after Gemini, it's going to go into Cancer, and then it'll go into Leo. So we're about 4 days on the 17th from the new moon. New moon will be about the 22nd, 23rd. So right after this particular gate, the next gate. And it's a really different kind of new moon. It's going to be in, let's see, they'll probably be in Virgo. And is that correct? Be in Leo or Virgo? Right there at the end of Leo and the beginning of Virgo somewhere. I haven't quite looked at the exact degrees yet. I may look at that now. Let's see. I pressed pause, but last time it didn't work, which was so strange. So I'm going to jump right into a deep discussion of this particular gate, as it's very deep and powerful, and something we need to really get into and unpack. I'm just putting in to see the day real quick if it comes up. No, I'm not seeing it right away. So what it is that gate 29, as we kind of already went over, or starting to go over, is this is a gate about commitment. And it's it's something that has a very difficult shadow to deal with, those who have this particular gate. Because the shadow is, it's, of course, it's opposite extreme. It's not committing at all. It's not really committing to things, but kind of being in the shadow of, or the fear of actually making firm commitments. And the definition of what commitment is about the energy behind your efforts to make commitment. And there's something about Rudd. Rudd talked about this in his breakdown of this particular gate, that there's nothing really worth doing in life unless you're making an absolute commitment to this. So what you could see, ironically, with people with this particular definition, they're either going to really, really fully commit to things, or everything's half-hearted. Everything's like, oh, okay, I'll do it. I don't really know what I'm doing, but let's do it. When in reality, this is about life and what you agree to. And really, life is all about agreements. It's about the agreements you make and the commitments. This is what establishes a life. And this is what establishes success or failure. Because to commit to something half-heartedly is to commit to failure. But to commit to something fully at the moment of commitment gives great power and direction and movement to whatever it is that's committed to. And in itself, it carries the seed of fortune. Because in essence, when you really look deep down what this gate is about, it's just really about accepting an invitation from life to trust. And commitment is something that follows on a road that leads to learning to trust. And it's not trust necessarily of another human being or of a situation or just life itself, but the experience. Because there is no ultimate definition for where we are and what we are. It seems that life, the life process, is something that's happening through us. Now, we do all we can to contain the day with our minds and egos and define this kind of realm that we're in, or why we're experiencing these seemingly simultaneous incarnations, or why we spend, when we die, 3 days in the bardo and then we're born again, or, whatever it is we think or hold to be true or see in our own visions. This is about commitment to building trust into the experience and allowing the experience to happen through us. Human design is about this personality side, these transits in our own human design is personality is the driver. No, sorry, it's not the driver. It's the passenger. The passenger in the vehicle, it's not the driver. The driver and the car itself are the vehicle, or the design side, the other side here, the side in red, the unconscious that we don't see right now in this picture. Because the red side design only occurs in birth, because that's 3 months prior when the neocortex receives the spirit. And so this personality side here is the transits of the day. And these transits, we don't perceive them as affecting us as we do through astrology in that sense, because our authorities are guiding light. So it's very nice that I'm sharing you where the sun's going to be at that day, but the real import is you and your personal authority. If your sacral definition, you go with your gut, you're committing to this. You hear it, you speak it, you say it. Sometimes it's red and you can't hear yourself saying it, so then it's whatever you do in the moment. Other people have emotional definition. You wait for clarity. You wait till you're clear. And those who have splenic spontaneity, they know in the moment. They know at that second. They get the whisper and they go forward spontaneously. And of course, there's other authorities. There's the ego manifestors and manifesting generators who act from will, from willpower, from their voice directly to manifestation. And also the projectors that have G centered to the throat. The quality of their voice, the quality of their expression tells them whether they're present to manifest. And so this is what it is. This is about commitment in its fullest capacity in life. I was thinking about this quote from Friedrich Hölderlin, the German poet, but I didn't actually look it up. But he has some great quotes about wherever you go, there you are. And I'm simplifying it, but he has some great quotes from his poetry about the essence of being that which you do. Because anyone could say anything, but are not actions a true measure of who we are? We could do some stupid shit and then say, oh, I apologize. I wasn't in my body. I wasn't present. But who are you? Your actions. You're what you do, where you go, where you are. Because we feel as if we can control those things. It's really the vehicle. And so the vehicle goes and does what it does. And that's the measure of who we are. And those movements illuminate our commitment, what we're committed to, what we've given import to enough to plan for it, or to spontaneously do, or to reflect and wait for clarity on to do. And so the gate of commitment is about committing to life. But even more than that, as I've been saying, it's not about committing to life. It's about committing to your experiences in life. More than commitment to life, it's a surrendering to the life force energy within you and going in that direction of what that is. And trusting those cycles that come about from those commitments that we make. And not going to the mind and overthinking it or worrying about it or I wonder if this is going to work out. You've committed to it. That's it. No more thinking needs to be done about it. You're in it. You're moving in it, through it. And that's powerful enough. So it's about committing to relationships. We commit to a relationship sometimes very quickly. Humans are known for that. It's like a decision is made at some point, and that's what it is. It's then you're in it and it's going. And once it begins, that's it. Life holds it, and life will take it where it will go. And and you're surrendering to that commitment that you make, and you're being led by the verse. And it's a surrendering to that experience, but even deeper, it's surrendering to a process within you that has to work itself out in that experience. And so this is about the ideas that, again, as I like to say, you cannot contain the day with your mind. The mind cannot contain the day. We cannot think ourselves through life. All we can do is align with what we want to commit to and allow that commitment to take hold. Allow nature to do its work. It's trusting the body. It's just trusting the body that the body knows. The body knows what it needs. The body knows the experiences it wants to have. And this is feeling into the body, feeling into the warmth that the body brings through. And in relationships, when you commit to a relationship, you commit to as long as the relationship is correct. And you'll know when the relationship's over. Everybody knows. Everyone feels it. Whether they can articulate it, oftentimes it's difficult in life with relationships to even articulate that something has reached its end. because of the pain that can be involved with severing an attachment. But everyone knows, everyone feels when something's done, it's done. And that's what we commit to. There is no failure in relationships. There's a commitment for its cycle. And if it's connected with the 4253, then it has a beginning, it has a middle, and it has an end. But really, all commitments have a beginning, middle, and an end. Because that's the process of life. That's what it is. And what I'm talking about here is this power that is inherent in committing to things, that there's a great power inherent in it. And that power is a kind of energy, it's a kind of warmth. Because as there's a famous quote by Goethe, the German philosopher and scientist, and he talks about boldness in life. Being bold brings all this energy. I don't remember the quote exactly, but he talked about a power in that, and the energy that being boldness brings. And that's what it is to some degree with commitment. Because imagine committing to things half-heartedly, with all these fears and of this or that. And then your doubts can create a situation that just leads to misfortune or just failure or true failure. And why? Because it never really begins. And also because it's a mirror cycle. It's a cycle you've experienced before. And so it's just a shadow cycle operating through you. But these cycles that we commit to, these new cycles, they have to be honored for what they are and not overthought or overwrought by over reflecting in the mind. And with a respect and honor for how long they last, as I was saying. It could last a minute, it could last a day, could last 6 months, a year, a decade, a century. It's very interesting because one can reflect on certain commitments that humans make. Those commitments that seem to therein instilled a kind of built-in requirement for permanence or forever ever. Now, something that's very powerful about marriage is that, as using that example, utilizing that example, is that the binding which marriage creates, that legal binding, right? Also the changes, the name changing or living in the same house or whatever it is. There's a great power in that because that means you can't just willy-nilly end something or let it go. But you have to commit to getting to zero, as I like to say. Bring the charge down, the emotional charge of whatever the problem was or is, working through it, forgiving the other, forgiving oneself, and committing to getting back to zero, zero charge, and to honoring the commitment. But of course, it does seem to negate the larger truth that, yes, cycles do end. But then, of course, we've built it in. If a marriage is over, it's over, and we get a divorce or a separation or whatever it is. My nephews you might hear them in the background, but I'm near done. So, so what the point of this gate of commitment is in its highest representative frequency is that commitment is more important than our goals in life. Our goals is like the dartboard. It's the direction we may be going in or that we've written out. But if we can truly commit to what we're doing, and hold on to that without worry or anxiety or over reflection or over mentation, then all our energy is moving and it's not being fragmented by the mind over worrying or being anxious or over considering, because the mind's not us. The mind's always looking for something to chew on. And that's not something we can control. So we let the mind do what it does or keep it busy, giving it Sudoku puzzles or books to read. Keep it calm, keep it busy. And allow yourself to be in your body and commit fully to the experiences which are akin to a type of trust in life. And the realization that goals are not as important as we think, but the commitment to having the experiences we do through these bodies is what's important. Okay, hopefully that was you guys took something from that, and I'll see you on the 23rd with the next gate. And if I didn't remind everyone, so around this time period, this is going to be an interesting new moon. I'm not looking at the details right now, but we're moving out of the retrograde, but there's still a lot of retrogrades going on this time, and we're prepping for the September eclipses. And the energy is kind of more of a pulling in during this time. We're going into Virgo, the Hermit. So, for example, I'm traveling. I definitely plan to be back before the 20th so I can pull back in. So that's what the energy is for this kind of last part of the month. But I'll go into that more detail in another video. So hopefully this was helpful to you guys. Thanks for listening, subscribing, and commenting below. I really appreciate, and take care.